live. I've gone live. I've gone live anyway because we were just talking nonsense. So hello, dear viewers. If you are here, Mac, a snapshot. I've just gone live. I don't care. 12 seconds early. What was just said in passing was, has there been much news? And Mr. Simpson is convinced there's news, and the rest of us aren't convinced there's news. That was the sum of it, really.
And that's why I want to start by saying we lost a stone. We lost a Rolling Stone.
We did.
We thought it was forever. Well, apparently even stones disappear. So let's go.
Yes,
but
it's
he
true.
did get the no moss. We've got to be fair about that.
He did. Yeah, 80, wasn't he? I think. I mean, that's also quite frightening in itself, isn't it? It's just how old they are.
And
I
he
know
was the other stones in place. He was the guy that kept marching order on all the other stones. So he was always beating the drum.
Oh, hello. Here we go. This is a great comment coming all the way from LinkedIn. Oh, yes. Lay an egg, make chicken soup. Well, we'll have a look at that, Henrik. Kwambai, Quebec. I'm not sure where you're at or where you're from. Yes,
Damn, I was going to make exactly the same comment. He beat me to it.
I know. Fair play. Because there's been a show on this week, has there not?
Apparently it's the world's most popular show, full of innovation, and it's where everyone wants to be. And apparently there were many, many, many empty stalls, from what I've heard. Evening Wolf. Who are you talking about? I don't know. Who were we? Oh, you know who we're talking about, Michael, don't you? The drummer from the Rolling Stones. He went earlier today. I guess you're just finding out in Australia, just waking up there.
I was also gutted we lost Sean Locke, whilst it's nothing to do with the drone industry. For anyone who watches comedy in the UK, Sean
very sad.
Prolific, but just that one really sort of thinged me this week, that one.
So Boris is the only comedian you got left now.
Yes. We've got a good supply of them, but there's some unique ones out there, and he was certainly one of them.
He was a unique one. If you want to know about Sean Locke, go and watch 8 out of 9 Cats, and he's just absolutely brilliant in that.
He's also been in 8 out of 10 Cats as well, but
also that, Well, what a cheery bunch we are this very evening.
Anyway, that's the obituary out the way. Is this a weekly news segment we're going to start? The obituary. And as horrifying as this is, what we should do is a weekly obituary one, apart from when one of us die and you say nothing and then just carry on like the old Top Gear.
Yes. Evening, Bobby. And Bobby, I did see your comment on LinkedIn about the show. I think the show it's overhyped, that show. And there was definitely some skullduggery going on in the background with comments that were made by people. And there are a handful of people in the industry properly, really, that have been around a while, and we all see it and we all pick it up very quickly, and then it puts other people very much further down in our estimation, I think. And there's no need for people to do it. There's no need to backstab other companies and things like that. There really isn't.
What's the fun of that? Come on. You have to play tricks on your competitors. That's the whole FUD that it's a common trait from the industry.
Yeah,
so bring in some FUD.
I think we've had enough of it, haven't we? Oh, is everyone going to walk off now? All right.
Sorry, that was my tea. My tea was coming. It was a bit. We went live before I was ready.
You have to get your chair shot in.
Now, and the obligatory chair shot for the sponsorship.
If you're there, that's a good question. We'll come back to that. We'll definitely come back to that. It's going to be on after.
I was away last week, obviously, so I don't know how much you guys talked about the hotel thing, but who was there for them? Because I haven't really.
Bobby probably. Bobby works for a hotel. So
you were probably there for them, yeah.
Bobby was probably there for them.
I was away last week when you guys discussed that whole thing, so I did did watch the thing back last week, and but yeah, I wasn't there for that one, unfortunately.
Which thing are we talking about there? The chap leaving, or
the chap leaving? Yes, just.
Well, that's true, and he wasn't very kind on. What's it say? Don't let the door hit you on the backside as you go out, or whatever it is. He wasn't very complimentary as he left. That wasn't what I was actually thinking about when I said that. I was thinking about Brendan's comment. Brendan's comment about the Chinese phone inside the blue SUS controller made in America. I can't remember whom by.
Someone wrote. Aeronautics or robotics. I'll find it. I should know this. I probably have one on its way to me very shortly to have a look at.
I'm sorry. What's the problem of having a stupid phone inside a controller? I feel the amount of technology that is inside one of these days is mind-boggling. So if you get the amount of processing power that one of these has inside, it doesn't matter exactly what. Take the battery out of one of these, and you get a hugely powerful processor, a hugely powerful amount of memory, a hugely powerful computer with lots of sensors, and for the price point they're putting it, come on.
Yeah. It would actually, Louis, you're making a lot of sense. If you wanted to build one, it would almost make complete sense to buy an off-the-shelf phone and strap it in, because you couldn't manufacture it easily and easier. You know, phones are made in millions because there's a market for it. There's an argument to be had slaving it to a PCB with a permanent mounted USB-C port that extends to the side. There's logic in doing that. Now, that isn't how Hearlink is. Hearlink is a custom-built device. It is a partnership between QPilot, Hexero, and Pinecone. And it is a smart device, as all of these tablet-style controllers are. I think Brendan's comment was, I think, ill-conceived in the sense of, I don't think he was trying to say what he said, but it was still wrong. That's the reality. I don't think he out and out.
We have an English to English translator.
No, I don't think he out the phone. I think he was trying to say something else, more about country of origin and things like that. However, you've got to get it right. And it just looks a bit shit when the world's largest drone manufacturer is starting to pick on small companies. And it's hard not to think it's political when you are in a position that person is in. And that, that person is a good guy from what I've had dealings with in the past. But at the end of the day, when you are the gorilla in the room, going after small companies looks real bad.
Come on. Doesn't look that bad. At the end of the day, he just smashes all the small guys, and he has some fun while doing it. Come on.
Well, I think it opened a can of worms. That's probably...
Well, he forgot the smiley face.
Well, here's the thing. This is a phone. You can make a phone call on this. Here's my Hearlink. I can't make a phone call on this. There's a difference.
Technically, you can.
Sorry.
Well, I can't. Out of the box.
No. Put WhatsApp running on it. Why don't you put WhatsApp running on it?
Well, that would only
put Skype.
A phone uses cell technology. My Hearlink, to my knowledge, doesn't have cell technology in it. It still needs an internet connection.
It's chopped, but
it's a tablet. It's basically there's a tablet in this.
Yeah, and most tablets, as you might know, don't have a cell phone stack inside, some have it, but is disabled in various ways. So the thing is, come on, guys. Manufacturers do these modules that have a lot of functions, and sometimes they get disabled. And the cost of the Qualcomm or whatever chip that handles all that external connectivity is just the couple of bucks. if they can take that out of the circuit boards, they just have a cell phone without the cell. Basically, that's it. They have all the computing power, they have all the resources, except for the cell parts.
So what we're saying is it's a tablet.
Well, no, technically, what they've done is they've repurposed the radio for 5.8 gigs. So it does still have the original chipset modified, but it does have the chipset in there, but it uses it because HearLink uses LTE over 2.4 gigs. So it's shifting the band to where it should be. Because remember, if you talk 4G, 5G, you got it 1800. I think was the other bands, Bruce, 2.2 or 2.3. I think there's one around there. They're all over the bloody place. So the radio is repurposed. You can argue all of these devices are some form of cell phone or some form of tablet because the lines are blurred. Now, it's like saying, is my phone a computer? That's where the blurred lines lie now. Is it a PC? Is it a laptop? Is it a phone? These are more of a computer than they are a phone. Let's be realistic on that. But at the end of the day, that's every device. That's the way it is. So what this all boils down to is, I think there's beginning to be a real mess around this US versus rest of the world manufacture. And look, companies are being locked out. Therefore, they're not happy and they're not being given access to parts of the market. Now, you can argue that's because of where they are. Is it political? Of course it is. But you're now starting to see the kickback on that. We've seen the Blue UAS scheme shrink already. We've already seen people fall off the radar on that. You've now got Red Cat involved. Am I right, Gary? A Red Cat?
Yeah, they're trying to be. Yeah, they're trying to be. But the next picks, two of them have been picked for the next round, I believe, or have moved on to the next for the live final. Onto the next bit. So we should see some more choice. But I mean, this is a little bit like ITAR 2, isn't it? Really, the US is beginning to shoot itself in the foot a little bit. If it does start demanding, it's all got to be made in exactly all made in America. Because let's face it, I know there are speed controllers and there are propellers and the odd bit there and the odd bit there, but it's going to end up all of it will end up as flipping pricey bits of kit.
Yeah. And why is the argument the drone must be completely made in the USA when every phone, every laptop, every tablet is made abroad, every TV? Why is the drone industry being treated differently? Because you don't see the US government saying
environment.
You're not allowed.
Lucky Martin.
But no, look, and it is because if you're going to go down that road, look, there's half the computer industry is based in Silicon Valley. Dell, HP, they're all made.
They make source, don't they?
It's all made abroad. So the one thing the West and specifically the US is really good at is picking and choosing where it flies the flag on this stuff. So it will sit there and go, we're more than happy to have cheap consumer electronics. But when it comes to building industries that they want to protect, like aviation, then suddenly it's, we can't do that. Yet half of these planes are designed on laptops and everything made in Taiwan, China.
So, there's a difference there between Taiwan and China. One is an island and the other is not. That's the difference. That's one of the differences. I don't want to go into the others.
That's the demonetized words thing.
Not on a visit from China. As a slight aside, there's two slight asides. I'm just going to move things away. You mentioned WhatsApp, and that somehow made me think of course, not only is Bruce, he must be feeling a little bit desperate because, of course, he's locked down. But the harder news for Bruce is he's going to lose all the revenue from his OnlyFans channel. I mean, that must be really, it's a terrible time for Bruce. Terrible time. Anyway, that's while that was there. Bobby's saying if you only saw the sales. Was #S from Blue? I don't understand what that means. You're talking like young people do, Bobby. That's something that young people would understand. Must be BS, surely. Well,
it's going to get interesting, and I think some people need to think before they start writing what they're writing, because at the end of the day, people aren't stupid. Everyone can see.
Come on, Ian. It doesn't matter. End of the day, it really does not matter.
Louis said people are stupid.
No, end of the day, you go to the iStore and buy the iPhone. Why would you care? Come on. End of the day, you'll get the iPhone. So don't worry too much.
Yeah. But I think if you're going to be throwing stones in greenhouses or glass houses or whatever you want to say, you're going to be very careful. DJI are able to say that sort of thing. They're the gorilla in the room. But there are many small American companies that are really stretching the point as to the made in America part of the thing. And most of the machine isn't made in America. Only what's that here? All that the staff, restaurant, or bar owners. Really? I don't understand that, James. Now, James and a couple of other people mentioned the Canadian police force. They are, of course, world-renowned for their top-notch training and precision flying skills. And once again, because if you've ever been at a model aircraft competition where there's combat, it's really hard to hit another aircraft. It's really hard. So that to me says that they've been trained really well.
Excelled.
They have, not once but twice.
Yeah, they've got this must bring into question the whole training regime, because Canada was really heavy on initially they had the really tough drone regulations. You couldn't fly within 19 miles of an airport or something with your little toy drone. And then they backed off a bit and they got a bit sensible. They have the sub 250 where there's no prescriptive regulations, but they do have quite a strong emphasis on training. If you want to do some of the more advanced operations, you've got to go basically almost like to flight school, and you got to learn all about weather and you can't have ice on your propellers and all this stuff, real detailed stuff. And then there's a flight exam. If you watch Alan Yu's channel, he went through the whole process. It's really quite comprehensive. So how the hell then can a police officer completely ignore all that training and fly, obviously without a spotter, because the spotter would have seen the plane, right? Within the close proximity to an airport where you need to get a clearance. They have an app. You can call up on the app to get clearance when you're flying in controlled airspace. So didn't get that. And like so many things wrong. It's the Swiss cheese model. Every layer of that Swiss cheese model had a hole in it. And more importantly, what's going to happen to the police officers involved? Are they going to get this, this was a terrible incident, we've learned and we're moving on? Or are they going to get their ass handed to them on a plate, as would happen to a member of the public if they did exactly the same thing? Law enforcement should always be held to a higher standard than those that they are enforcing the law against. Otherwise, it's one set of rules and another for us and another set for others. Rules for thee, but not for me. And that's unacceptable.
Well, it brings me straight to mind to the Liverpool one, which the micro drone years ago, can't remember the year, held it up. First drone arrest. Hooray, hooray, drone arrest. Took it to court. They hadn't renewed their whatever it was back at the time, PFCO, or the original thing was. And the rules just changed, so it got thrown out. So, hooray!
No, just because
police and military forces are not under the same rules as the common citizen is.
They are in the UK. What about Canada?
They should not. They should not.
Qualified immunity, I think it's called.
Shit happens, and happened there. So I don't think it is. We should go. The drone industry, this, the drones that. And we should not have this regulation or that regulation because police force. Come on, police can go at 200 kilometers per hour on the highway if they have the need to, and you can't.
But they're not legally allowed to endanger the lives of citizens.
Oh God, come on, let's lawyer up, Bruce. Now, the thing is. Yeah, they. I'm sure the guy that had the issue is not very happy. I'm sure there will be something done inside. Is it of any consequence to the rest of us, of the drone flying community? I guess not. So,
well, I'm going to get a T-shirt that says, "I meet Canadian police standards for drone operation."
You have a very easy solution, Bruce. Go to Canada and apply to be a Mountie. So that's problem solved.
So here's what I find interesting about it. So if I get this wrong, please do correct me. So there was confusion on the height of the aircraft. The drone itself was one of the comments that, if I remember reading through it, it says the police officer was confused about his height. Well, it's got a little H on the screen that tells you how high you are from your takeoff point. So it's not hard to get confused. But my takeaway was it's quite scary. But this machine was an M210, so they weigh 6.5 kilos, roughly. It did not kill anyone. The Cessna did get down in one piece as such. You know, it did leave a bit of a dent, and it's going to take a bit of buffing out, yes, but it didn't kill anyone, amazingly, from that bump. I mean,
it's only a matter of time. But it was lucky that it wasn't a few feet higher, or it would have probably taken out both occupants of the aircraft, in which case we'd have all been to blame.
Yeah, and that's the sad thing. Now, in the UK, so the police force in the UK are allowed to blue light, basically, same as they are with cars. So if they're doing a drone op, if life is at risk, it must be life is at risk, they can blue light. So if they were searching for someone, then they could go BV loss. They would be allowed to blue light to, say, 2 kilometers or something to hunt for someone if their life is at risk. But that's the only time they can break the rules within the police parameters, if you like, is if there's life at risk. Otherwise, they should not be breaking any.
And I watch those programs on TV, and they're constantly having to report back, it's still safe to proceed, it's still safe to proceed. Yeah. And they're trained specifically in those tactical maneuvers. Was that pilot in Canada, was he trained in knocking down Cessna 172s? He shouldn't have even tried it. I mean, if he's not specifically trained to do that, why has he even got the controls in his hand? He failed.
He's got some skills.
But, you know, so let me ask you this then. So the biggest fear at the minute, and we've heard the FAA's BS because Bruce did a nice video on it about remote ID. Now, here's the question for you all. Would remote ID have stopped that accident from happening?
Absolutely. What, you naysayer, you doubter. Goodness me, haven't you read the Bible according to the FAA?
So again, the question is, right, would remote ID have stopped that from happening?
Of course.
Well, that's my argument. How many lives would have been saved if remote ID had been introduced 5 years ago?
So we now know that remote ID would not have made a squat bit of difference to that at all.
Next, it's not what it's for, though. It's not what it's for. So it's not for safety.
You listen to what they say in Bruce's video.
It's all about when your drone flies away, remote ID will make the pilot safer.
Yeah.
So here's the other point as well. Now, the M210, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not sure what version they were flying, that has DJI AirSense on board. So, again, it had ADS.
Yeah, it does. It has ADS-B.
Warning. Therefore, there's two things here to take away. One is remote ID would never have stopped this from happening, wouldn't make the sky any safer at all in that situation, period. And that's every CAA around the world's biggest fear is aircraft hitting a drone hitting an aircraft and causing a major crash. Remote ID doesn't stop any of that from happening, and it won't stop this from happening. And even if you have AirSense, every time there's a new DJI drone released in America, they seem to get AirSense fitted. And in the UK, we get the lesser model, and we don't seem to get AirSense sometimes. It just depends what version. And there's everyone going, oh, the Air 2S in America's got AirSense. Why don't we have it in the UK? Blah, blah. Make the sky safer. It would have made zip difference in this scenario. This scenario, it wouldn't have mattered because that plane did not have it fitted. And that's the problem with DJI AirSense. Everyone thinks it makes the sky, safer. AirSense does, and it's very worrying that people think all of a sudden you're going to be safe flying, and it gives a false sense of security. And this just proves that these two things make squat difference. would have made absolutely no difference at all to the
scenario. It would have made a culture of safety.
Yeah, well, if that light aircraft had ADS-B out, then it would have made a difference.
Yes,
but it didn't. So that's the fix that we need.
The thing is that they're going to require all drones in Class G airspace to have remote ID, but manned aircraft won't need it. Yet there are deaths caused by manned aircraft colliding with other manned aircraft for lack of ADS-B in Class G. But no one's ever died as a result of a drone hitting an airplane. And so why are they addressing the tiny problem? It's like the bartender on the Titanic mopping up the drink rings on the bar as the iceberg comes through the wall. What are they doing?
And you should know because you were probably there. But anyway, moving on. Sorry, Bruce. I couldn't resist that.
Yeah, he was celebrating his 40th birthday at the time.
Yeah, that's 40th.
Yeah, so manned aviation has to all have ADS. In my takeaway is all manned aviation has to have ADS-B fitted, and then all drones need the air sense on it to avoid it, and therefore drones don't need anything else because we don't need anything.
But you
else,
realise it's not being driven by safety. This is it's the dishonesty that annoys me. It's not safety. It's this security thing. It's all about security. And in America, it's the Department of Homeland Defense or whatever it is, Homeland Security. They're the ones that are driving the FAA regulations. I think the FAA actually wasn't necessarily in favour of remote ID, but Department of Homeland Security said we must have it. We must have it for the security of the nation. And I'm thinking, well, this is the old FUD thing, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That will always get the people to comply. We're rallying against a common enemy, which is the terrorists, which we just gave many, many hundreds of millions of dollars worth of ammunition to and weapons to in Afghanistan. The Taliban are now well armed. They're going to be a bigger problem. We need to ban drones from the sky. What the Americans, military and politicians have got no clues. Oh, it's like.
Let me just make sure that I just do mention the word hard porn. Because you mentioned terrorists. So there we are. We've absolutely guaranteed to get rid of the 18 cents now.
Someone think of the children.
Let's make sure that's done.
So here was one of my biggest takeaways from Bruce's video, actually, on remote ID. And the FAA is saying, oh, yes, if you're the pilot and you're getting harassed, just call the police. Now, the funniest bit is, if you're in America, right, and you call the police, they don't turn up in a polite fashion. But the other problem is in states like Texas, you're more likely to be shot before the police even get near you. Because in America, of course, don't take this the wrong way, the Americans, I don't want to get shot. They do,
but
they are armed. In America, if someone takes offense at you, they can just shoot you. He was on my land. He was on my land.
It's a remote ID thing. It is a nonsense. There's a little bit of an interesting twist in Africa. In further north of here in Uganda, the government is just about to roll out. They're demanding in league with a Russian company. They're demanding that everybody has a GPS device fitted to their cars. In fact, to the number plates. One on each number plate, to track every vehicle in Uganda, and you will have to pay $5 a year to this Russian company to be compliant. So they're proposing surveillance, and they are saying it is for safety, and because they have so many back and motorbike crimes, that motorbikes called boda bodas, they're motorbike taxis, where the guy in the back fires an AK at somebody as they're passing. It's a good way of doing it. So the primary reason for this is for tracking the boda murders, and everything will be all right and we'll all be okay. So it's a parallel, I think, for remote ID and
and even if you do draw the safety argument, then why aren't we fitting all vehicles with GPS transponders so that if you speed, you will be ticketed automatically? Why don't they do that? Because politicians drive cars and they like to have a bit of a black down the motorway like everybody else. Whereas
that is coming. To be fair, that is.
And so the UK have got pretty much similar with the ANPR system. I mean, they know where everyone's going, and if you pass between two cameras at a particular rate, they know how fast you're going.
So here's the other thing as well. See, if remote ID, if you had fear of a terrorist using a drone because of something, and a terrorist is really going to have remote ID on a drone or some sort of GPS tracking, because you would do. So why is it in the UK they're not fitted all vans you rent with GPS trackers? That would have done more than doing it to drones.
Why do you want to put trackers on vehicles if everyone, or at least 80% of the world population, got a tracker on the vaccine? So
yeah, my is really good.
Yes. Yeah,
I need a booster. My batteries are going flat.
the more advanced version as well. Indeed, indeed, the more advanced version.
Why did those vaccines have to pass FCC approval? That's what we need to know.
that's oh, wouldn't that be fantastic to make up the patent for that and leave it lying around on a website somewhere? The FCC patent for the vaccine. That would be fantastic.
So we still know that remote ID is kind of been canned for a little bit in the UK. It's kind of on hold. But I have heard they're going to look at it again with a new working group next year.
Yeah, that's including Wing, and that's the ASTM, whichever standard that is.
Speaking of Wing,
go on.
In the submissions to the New Zealand Ministry of Transport discussion paper on remote ID, Wing made a submission. I'll be covering that in an upcoming video. But they basically said, we want to clip on the ticket. We think remote ID is really cool because we can make money by providing UTM services and apps and things. And it's like they've just advertised themselves as this is our goal. And this is what we've been saying all along. But they've more or less opened the door and said, yeah, we admit it. It's all about money. And I'm thinking, people around the world, take note, take note, because it's coming to you.
Sorry. If anyone from the working group ever watches this video, if you any time in the future, so we'll say hello because we will do.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we never get people watching these videos. What are you talking about?
No, that's true.
Right? So the question they've got to answer, in my eyes, right, for remote ID for safety and security and all the BS around it, how would they have stopped the Canadian issue? Say it happened here or whatever. How would remote ID stop something like that from happening? If you can't answer that question, remote ID is the wrong thing to do.
I think there's a touch of logic to your argument there, and as we know,
we don't allow. Just kick him out. We don't.
Yeah,
we don't. What do you do? We don't know the rules of the forum.
Yeah, we don't allow logic. I'm sorry. It's just sorry.
But that's the kind of perfect example. So anyone that goes remote ID, the perfect thing to go to them is go. It doesn't matter who the regulator is. The question is how it would have stopped the Canadian drone hitting the Canadian plane. If you can answer that question by remote ID, then I think you're lying through your teeth, and I would love to hear the BS you come up with.
No, sorry. There's a thing. The Canadian remote ID would say please and I'm sorry. So
it would.
While that interchange was happening, please and sorry and some maple syrup, there won't be any issues. So because the plane will say, "Can I please?" and the drone says, "Sorry." So
there's a plane coming, There's a plane coming, Anywho, yeah, and all those other Canadianisms.
Oh. Well, the thing with Wing and Co that I've heard said to me by a couple of meetings is that they're very much telling regulators, no. All these people have been around years and put a lot of work into this. Forget them. We're biggest, we're best, we're getting into this now. Just wait. Don't do anything till we're ready. That's what I've heard. Their pitch is. So it's forget all the others, forget anyone else. You don't need anyone else. Don't do anything. We're here now. It'll be all right. We'll save the day.
So
only exactly. Well, Michael's got it. If only ADSB is mandated for all GA aircraft. That's the bottom line, isn't it? There's far less of them. What was the thing I was trying to argue with someone this week? They were saying, "Oh, it is about the probability of an air prox," and I was trying to say it's actually going down because the numbers of manned aircraft they're not making them. There's nowhere near as many manned aircraft out there as there are RPAS now. So there's about 10,000 DJI things sold every day, every single day. There's not 10,000 aircraft being sold every day.
So hang on a minute, right? So we all know that air proxies, pilots don't see drones anyway.
No, No, but people are making up numbers of the probabilities and chances of it happening, and because so many years have happened. But it's like, no, there's way more. You know, if you look at the last 10 years, there's way more ARPAs in the sky now than there were 10 years ago. So it actually must be going down dramatically, or it's being shown to have gone down. I'm not phrasing this very well. It must have shown to have gone to be low because of the sheer numbers that are out there, and it's not happening unless you're a highly trained Canadian police operative. But then that's more about your skill. There's no way that.
I would love to know. There's 225,000 registered operators in the UK, roughly, or was. I need to do another Freedom of Information to find out how many we've got now. But I wonder how many manned aviation there are in the UK.
It's not a great deal. It's not a great deal at all.
34 to 40, is it, or something?
Something like that. Yeah, it's not a big number. It's certainly nothing like America. It's certainly not the number of aircraft like there is in America. I don't know how it is in New Zealand. It strikes me you might have a little bit higher GA population than the UK. So
it would make sense then to just mandate all manned aviation.
To have some form of electronic conspicuity.
Yeah, because drones, there may be more. There's more of us, so it'll cost us more money.
Yes, but the manned aviation community is far more unified, and they have stronger representation. We're just a bunch of clowns with drones. We have no unified single voice, so we have no power. And that's what I've been trying to tell the community for so long. You need to get yourselves organized, get behind some group, organization, body, or individual, and just go there and be unified. But we're not. There's so many, and they've tried to break us up. They've sort of divide and conquer has been the approach, and it's working so well. We just need to smarten up.
And Wolf's right. There probably are a lot more geese than drones in the world. And Ping, as Michael makes a good point about Ping. Ping's got it. All the new DJI stuff's got it. The Cube's got it in the carrier board. It's simple for us to get out of the way, but we haven't actually all agreed on a how are we going to get out of the way? In which way shall I go away in short, sharp, jerky movements? We've not agreed on a standard way of getting out of the way.
Geese are more dangerous. Geese are more dangerous because they honk, they don't squawk.
So would it be like manned aviation then? Should we, if we're approaching, do we turn one way? They turn,
we should, but then we set parameters up in our own devices to get out of the way however we think we should, but we shouldn't do that. We should get out of the way via the rules of the air.
We do look at the number of drones out there, and what did Brendan say? 85 million drone flights in the USA last year or something or other. And look at manned aviation, how many flights in the GA arena. Look how many GA mid-airs there's been versus the number of drones versus manned aircraft. Manned aviation is far more dangerous. We are getting out of the way. And what annoys me most is when you see, I looked at the FAA reports, pilot saw drone. I'm thinking, yes, but the drone operator wasn't trying to knock the plane out of the sky. The drone operator was probably well out of the way and staying out of the way and moving out of the way. Why do they assume that every drone is intent on bringing down an aircraft? That's a totally unreasonable supposition.
Bruce, sorry. How many GA planes flew in the backyard of the owner? And how many drones flew in the backyard of the owner? How many GA planes flew in the park chasing geese? How many drones, at least one, flew in a park after geese? Come on.
Answer the first question.
No,
175,324.
You go out and say 85 million flights, but you have to look at what is a flight. Come on.
It doesn't matter, though. It doesn't matter. Drones are not hitting airplanes. Unless they're operated by the Canadian police, drones are not hitting airplanes. It's this flood we've been told for a decade now. They're going to knock planes out of the sky. If it was going to happen with any kind of regularity, it would have happened several times already. It has not happened. The evidence speaks to the false nature of these claims.
The large percentage of those 85 million flights that you report are in the backyards.
No,
So,
but that's just DJI
what's
drones.
the probability of having a Cessna or a 747 flying on your backyard? You really
The
need
police
a
helicopter
very
flies
good
over my
backyard.
house all the time, and it's low, and it blew my fence down.
In America, a plane flying from your backyard is not unusual. They have entire communities where the planes literally taxi from the backyard to the runway and take off. They have whole communities like that in America. You know, they literally do. It's quite bonkers. They've got the space for that kind of stuff. In the UK, it's not quite like that. Obviously, we have odd helicopters in backyards, but then your backyard's big.
Yeah.
Some people have planes in their backyards and they don't mean to. They fall out of the sky into suburban areas and kill people.
No, the thing is, we lose credibility when you go with the raw numbers. It's like using Excel to prove a point. You can torture an Excel spreadsheet to prove whatever point you want to prove it. Just give me enough time and I'll make you Excel sing a song.
So you're trying to tell me that 87.3% of all statistics are just made up on the spot.
The thing is, we have to compare apples to apples. How many flights of drones are being made above 400 feet? Theoretically,
but we're told airspace is airspace. We're told that when a drone takes off, even if it's 3 feet above the ground, it's in the national airspace. It must have remote ID. It must have all these things. And if that's what the regulators are telling us, then all flights count.
Yeah, but Bruce, that's the point. We are smarter than that, and we can prove.
Speak for yourself.
No, come on. You are smarter than that, and much older and wiser than all of us. Come on, you were on Titanic, and you're still here.
Definitely much older.
The thing is, if we want to prove a point, we have to take out from those 85 million flights. You have to take 84,900,000 from those flights, and just go with a reasonable comparison. Okay, gentlemen, we have 50,000, 100,000 flights done above or on the specific regulations. So not backyard flights. And the thing is, you only gain credibility when you critically analyze the numbers and present them as such. Because going, we have 85 million flights. No, 84 million are within your backyard. So remove these from the equation. Allow people to fly those 84 million flights, to fly on their backyard up to 30 meters high. No issues whatsoever. Let's look at the regulation for above those. So I
don't see many people flying in their backyard. I look on YouTube and they're all people flying at the beach or in holiday destinations or all sorts of places like that. And if we listen to what we're told in the media, most drone flights take place at airports and on the approach path.
Not the 85 millions. Otherwise, you could not fly. We would have get pics every other day on every country. So that with 85 million flights, that's what I'm saying. We have to be smarter and credible and present a reasonable.
Well, hang on a minute. Why do we have to be smart and credible? The regulators aren't.
Because we are fighting for our right to fly. So we have
no. Big mistake.
Smarter.
Privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege. We've been told this over and over again, and they're withdrawing that privilege. You can't withdraw rights, but you can withdraw privileges.
You're going to the negative way. I'm trying to be positive. There is the right to you exercise our hobby or our profession within the boundaries of general aviation rules. There are specific rules for drones, so let's make them as easy as possible and take from that equation the 84 million and something that are casual leisure flights on the backyard or similar that you want to put it.
I still don't get this. How many flights in backyards? So few people fly. What's the point in flying a drone in your backyard? You can't. There's nothing to see. There's no point. It's like I don't believe that the majority of these are in the backyard. I believe most of them are below 400. But
how many YouTube videos do you see the guys looking and getting their neck stretched and looking like this? Oh, my drone is so beautiful. I'm doing a review of the new whatever the Air 2S drone. Oh, it fly. Oh, the pictures are great. Those are the flights that you see. Most of the flights that you see, those are okay within the boundaries of backyard flights. Let's look at the other side of those flights, and that's why I say when we throw up numbers like 85 million, it's a senseless number that is just to make some noise. You can go and bang the drum with 85 millions. Nobody will believe you because the number is not credible.
DJ, I have the logs. They have the logs to show this.
So I've got a number for you then. I've got a number for you, and I'd like someone to disprove this if I'm incorrect. 21 years of CAP 722 drone rules in the UK. No one's died from multi-rotor in 21 years.
No one's died ever.
How many flights were done above the...
So here's the interesting bit.
People tend to be on the ground, Louis.
Here's the really interesting bit then. So back in 2015 in the UK, you could fly FPV and multi-rotor to 1,000 feet. The rules recently changed and they forced them down to 400 feet. But there was a big gap where you could fly FPV at 1,000 feet. No multi-rotor has killed anyone in the UK. And unlike Canada, even though the Canadian police are doing their damnedest to cause a nasty accident in the sky and do some serious harm, in the UK, nothing has happened yet.
We also need to start taking other arguments there. So we've established that just about all of us are flying with ADS-B in via some form or other, or if we're not, we could be very, very relatively cheaply be getting ADS-B in to our flight controller stuff. We need to let the manned aviation community know that should we see you, our devices will move out of their way in accordance with the rules of the air. Thank you very much. You need not fear us. We can start, a cube that's got that in it. So we need to start saying those messages. Let them know, hey, we can see you and we can get out of the way. If you're not equipped, well then tough.
So I have another question. What is it? The same type of plane that Canadian police have hit twice now?
No, one was helicopter.
So they've done proof testing. So what we're saying, Canada police have done proof testing that it's very hard to make a helicopter go, and they've also done the same for a plane to go.
But
they've got to do a microlight in the balloon.
Canadians have a problem. Canadians have a problem. They have a very congested airspace. Come on, imagine a country that small. What?
Tiny country.
The odds of the collision were inevitable.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's bound to happen, isn't it?
Canada is a small country, isn't it? I'm remembering now. Canada's really tiny. The UK would definitely never fit into Canada like 6 times or something or more, would it? No, that wouldn't.
And it's even worse because in the USA there were no rules, only advisories governing model aircraft use. People were legally able to fly BVLOS, legally able to fly whatever altitude they wanted with models and drones. And again, nobody died, and that was for forever. Section 336 provided that general exemption from the rules for model aircraft. And look on YouTube, go search for BVLOS or long range FPV. You will find countless thousands of videos showing people doing things that are so dangerous that they can only be done by commercial operators with all the exemptions and the certifications and all the groundwork and the extended spotters and things. Yet hobbyists have been doing this for well over a decade, 15 years, I think, since I first flew FPV, and nobody's died. And yet every day manned aviation's killing its those people that engage in it on a regular basis, but no one seems to care about that because they've got skin in the game. They would never do anything reckless, would they?
And come on, Bruce, as a commercial operator, you really cannot imagine the amount of paperwork, certificates that you have to file to go to somewhere fly below the highest obstacle in the region, and it's
just
painful.
rubbish. I swear, certain countries or certain CAAs, and I'm sorry to say this, they seem to think that you've got this really tall structure. Other snacks are available, and they go, "Oh, this is 2,000 feet tall, and we want to fly here. Oh, you need to give us lots of paperwork."
Well,
what else is going to be here?
No. There's a general rule in aviation that an aircraft shall not fly until the weight of the paperwork exceeds the weight of the aircraft. That's just
bulletproof.
Louis will prove that wrong. Louis will prove that wrong every time.
Guys, don't get me started. I've spent the last few weeks drowning on paperwork.
I would literally be going to them. You show me manned aviation flying next to that wind turbine like we are. When you do that and demonstrate the aircraft can fly there safely, we'll worry about it.
But you never know when a manned aircraft might get into trouble and need to do an emergency landing, and that may take it into the path of the drone that's inspecting the wind turbine. So we've got to account for these probabilities.
Well, I can do that. I can account for that. I know exactly how to help them with that. We'll do this. We'll have no GA below 2K. That way, we'll give them more time to make their emergency call.
Failure, you have no option. An aircraft can always descend below 2K. You must always assume that everywhere you go, there's an aircraft about to land.
But thankfully, we'll hear their distress call earlier, and they'll have more selections available.
In Class G, you don't even need a radio.
To say that. To be fair, if anyone is that close to a wind turbine and the plane's going down, if they're not trying to avoid that wind turbine, they've already got far
problems much bigger than what they
900 feet.
In
900 feet now, those turbines.
Yeah,
I see that.
The final rule is you must always avoid. You have to give right of way to manned aircraft when you're flying your drone, regardless of what's going on in that aircraft. If that aircraft hits your drone, you are at fault.
Yes.
So even today, and just as a side note, I was reading on the news that there's a new manufacturer that is planning a turbine that is 300 meters high. So, and I was looking at that and say, "Oh God, that's going to be so hard to get someone to look at that." But yeah,
people are going to. GA is going to moan about that, aren't they? As an encroachment of lower airspace, their airspace.
Well, the Twitchers will moan too.
Yeah, we've got wind turbines 1,000 feet now, haven't we? But again, if the drone is there and you're flying your drone, you're inspecting wind turbine, it's 1,000 feet. And you see a plane coming in and he's got no engine noise, and you see it coming in, it's going to definitely hit something. Now, I'm going to move my drone out of the way and let it hit the wind turbine. I do not have a problem with that.
On the other side of the wind turbine. Just fly to the other side of the wind turbine and wait.
I don't know. What, hide behind the blade?
Yes.
The blade goes around.
I've just consulted the Canadian Police Manual for such situations. It says, try to hit the plane with your drone.
Yeah. No,
come on. Let's just say it was a big lack of fortune from the drone operator, and it was a hell of a shot for the Cessna pilot. Come on, flying a Cessna and managing to hit a drone. Come on.
But what I don't understand is that we've got airline pilots traveling at bloody 500 miles an hour, and they can spot a Phantom from 2 miles. These guys missed a Matrice 200 that was right in front of them. How does that work?
No, come on. Those are the eagle eyes. We are not on the edge of eagle eyes. Come on.
It's a bit like at Dunkeswell, which is a little airfield in southwest UK. A steerman descended on top of whatever it was. I can't remember whatever it was, and landed right on top of them. They were very lucky. They both landed, steerman on top of the other. And I saw a steerman once go through a hedge and come to a very, very, very quick stop, because they can see all down and
this
forward.
This is what really
those.
angers me about regulators to say, oh, when you were flying FPV, you have no situational awareness, you have a limited field of view. And I'm thinking, then why are not all light aircraft required to have a spotter in the passenger seat? Because their field of view and their situational awareness is just so much lower than a drone operator. And the consequences of not having sufficient situational awareness is far greater in a manned aircraft than it is with an unmanned aircraft. But the regulators, well, we're not going to have facts intervene with this argument. You know, forget what we say goes. There's no logic, no science, and no risk assessment goes into these regulations. And for that reason, I shall be using them as advisories only.
Watch 10 years, and drones won't be in the purview of aviation regulators anymore.
No, because it'll all be urban air mobility. That's the
that'll be run by the councils.
That's already happening here. We've got our Ministry of Transport is making the aviation rules. We have a CAA, but we have, because they wouldn't make the rules the government wanted, they moved it to the Ministry of Transport. I transport nothing with my drones. So why does the Transport Ministry have anything to do with this?
Because perhaps somebody there's seen that's where a lot of the money is going to be, and a lot of money is to be made in that arena. And if that one particular regulator can't move fast enough, then give it to another one. You know,
I do think the idea of making lots of money from airspace from drones is not going to work out how they think, especially now. You know, kind of Amazon Air, they've stepped back a bit. They've not completely disappeared, nor DHL. You know, they've just stepped back a bit, and I think they'll be back in 10 years' time, maybe. But I don't think the money they thought they were going to get is there now. You know,
well, Manor are telling us this week that their deliveries are 90% cheaper than a delivery van.
Are they making a profit? I want to see their bottom line. If they're not making a profit, it's not viable.
Well, €7 a delivery, isn't it, with them?
Yeah.
So €7. So hang on a minute, €7. So cheaper than a person. Now a person is paid, say, €10 an hour. So, you know, how many trips can a person do in an hour? And what can they carry? Yeah. They can do more. So you can take 10 kilos or whatever. So you're quicker overall if you're a person. Yeah, it doesn't, the logic's not there in my head. I don't know, you know, the most expensive part of any delivery is actually the last 10 miles or so, or 5 kilometers. It's last mile delivery, they call it. That's the expensive bit. If you want to make that cheaper and you're a delivery company, they're all going to switch very quickly to electric vehicles, because that vehicle cost is the most expensive thing. So running a diesel, you know, putting expensive fuel in it, servicing that engine, doing all that jazz, that's a big expense. You can get rid of all that, put nice cheap electricity into it, no servicing on my engine. Oh, that's good. You know, and your batteries will lose about 10% over 200,000 miles, especially for Tesla, because Tesla have given away the figures now. They've said, you know, 200,000 miles, you'll lose about 10% of your battery. No normal car can match that. No petrol car or diesel car can go that long without proper servicing. So yeah.
Well, doesn't that 90% cheaper than a conventional delivery? Doesn't that just immediately? I don't think you have to think it through too hard. Doesn't that immediately not ring true? I mean, I don't think. I reckon my 5-year-old lad would be able to work out why. That's probably not right.
Who's going to pay €7 to have a €5 pizza delivered?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I order my Domino's pizza, I'll go, free delivery, $12.99. Are they? Where are they going to make their €7?
But that lad on the bike, he'll come with 2 pizzas
on his
electric bike, and he'll arrive in the rain, in the wind, a minute and a half later than the drone would have done. So, because if you see where the delivery area is, it's tiny. It's tiny.
It's semi-rural too. There's they don't have to fly over houses or anything. It's all very carefully flight paths. So it's complying with regulations at the moment, and they're not going to change the rigs.
It's a shame we haven't got a proper map we could bring up and just show people the area. He says, looking at Gary for Google Maps.
that would demand some sort of planning or thinking about this before we even start,
or even caring about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
but it'd be nice to show people the area. Do you know what I mean? So people can actually see.
But it's just, again, if Bobby's still here, I don't know if he's here, but I mentioned on LinkedIn was things about wild claims and all that. So in fact, Bobby's made a post this week about wild claims. But that is just instantly, that's one of those claims, isn't it? That grown-ups would surely just dismiss. Yeah. Because it can't be. It cannot be 90% cheaper than, because how many? All right, if we're comparing it to a van that's taking 500 kilos of stuff around that town, and we're taking 5 kilos of stuff. Well, it's 100 trips that the drone's got to make. I mean, it can't be. It can't be.
And I don't know if you've seen it, but they're advertising for pilots, and their pilots earn 25k a year. So a pilot for them gets 25k, I believe it is.
Now that's one. Is it one aircraft, one operator still, I wonder? Because I don't think any regulator has allowed multiple drones in the delivery space. I
would want more. If it was me, I would want more than 25k. If you give me a fleet,
I don't know if that's a good. I don't know if that's a good number in the UK anymore. Is that what is 25k as a salary in the UK?
It's all right.
Well, the Queen's new security consultant only gets 25k, doesn't he?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I've not kept up with that news. I mean, that might be all right, but the well, what would the lad on the delivery bike be earning? Is that what minimum wage?
He would be getting less than that. He would be getting less. It depends if he's on some sort of bonus, but he would get less than that.
I think they get paid per delivery, don't they? It's like a gig economy. You know, you just get paid when the work comes up, and you get like $2 per delivery, and it's up to you to make them profitable.
Interestingly, so if you work for Domino's, as I understand it, they pay you minimum wage, and you know that's kind of it, and then you can get your mileage on top for you running around in your car. So if you don't go anywhere, you still get your minimum wage, but if you go running around, you get your money for your mileage. That's as I understand it, and then you get tips if you get tips, of course, for Domino's. But
Wolf is making some good comments about that. Was 30,000 euros. It's probably a lot more than £25,000, isn't it? Or is it probably about the same?
It's 10 euros on social insurance and others.
Yeah, about the same.
Yeah. So
how is that? So how is that delivery 90% cheaper than the van? If you're paying the bloke to drive it about the same as the van driver.
So the only thing that's cheaper then is the drone. Well, the only thing that's going to be slightly cheaper will be the vehicle costs. But the vehicle costs don't really add up because, of course, the van can carry more weight. So they can do more deliveries. But the only way they can say it makes any kind of sense is say, well, for 5 kilos, it is cheaper than said van. But otherwise, reality is...
it depends. Depends how you frame the
numbers.
The numbers. We're back to Louis' point about making an Excel spreadsheet prove whatever you want it to prove. Make no mistake, I'm not against deliveries. Deliveries of emergency stuff when it's needed to go across difficult terrain and it needs to get there quickly. I'm down with that. I completely get that. But
that's what
not
DHL
my pizza.
was doing up now. They're withdrawing and now going to special use cases rather than the generic pizza delivery.
Yeah.
And that's where it all makes sense. You know, you've got a hospital that's got can carry all the medical stuff, and you've got the satellite hospitals. You need to get something from A to B, special blood delivery or something specific to a hospital. Then that kind of flight makes sense.
Oh God, come on. We all know that's
top comment, Tony. Top comment.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yes.
It's okay. Give me Excel and a couple of hours, and I'll preview the economic viability of that. And give me Excel and a few minutes, and I'll prove you how damn and wasteful your idea is. We can go both ways, because if an hospital, what might be so urgent that you need to send a drone from point A to point B to save a life.
It's going to be blood or organs.
Blood. Blood. That's the zip line have proved it many times in Rwanda now.
The thing is, do they need it the right now approach? Are they in the middle of the operating room and oh God, we missed O plus?
They do. No, they do. I know they do. I know they have in Rwanda. I know they have in clinics. They have, and I know they've had some particularly terrible cases where they've had to keep delivering. Just pack after pack up.
But the thing is, those are the exceptions that prove the rule, right?
Yeah.
And that is the biggest issue. Drone delivery by aerial vehicles, except in some minor cases like some of those islands outside of big UK, might be okay, given that they can withstand the winds and the crappy weather. But most what we'll see is rover vehicles wandering around. And then you have Mr. Musk with some crazy contraption based on a Tesla
humanoid robot.
Come on, guys.
Humanoid. It'll dance. It'll dance its way with the delivery.
The day that Mr. Musk sees there's a business in there, he'll create a crappy box like let's call it a Cybertruck, and put whatever he wants on there and put it fully autonomous.
Do you know what? I thought that announcement was rather interesting from Elon Musk, because he's got the they've learnt everything they can from the cars for self-driving, and they've gone, oh, hang on a minute, we can do something else here. And I thought it was rather interesting.
No, there's no way they'll catch up with Boston Dynamics quick.
I don't think he's out to catch up with them.
He wants intelligence, not mobility.
Yeah, so Boston Dynamics is very good.
Don't be rude at you again, Bruce. Sorry, that's what they say about you, Bruce.
Come on. You're not getting, Mark, you're not getting it. That humanoid drone. Come on, at the Tesla, you reach to the car and the handle comes up. That humanoid Tesla is going to be inserted on the frame of the car and will open up the door for you and close it like a butler.
No, he watched that movie Airplane, and he's planning to produce autopilots for airliners.
I thought what was interesting from Elon, he says, because Boston Dynamics is very good at getting robots to jump about and move about, and that's brilliant. That's not what Elon's up to. He said he wants to be able to take a drive for the robot. He'll go, I want that nut on that bolt. He's looking at the other side of things, to my knowledge. Getting it to walk, I don't think is his big problem. Getting it to move about in a 3D world, which we live in, they can do that with the cars very, very well. I think it's about pass me that drink, and the robot's going to go to the fridge if you tell it's in the fridge, and it's going to come back with your drink. You'll go,
that's what I've got children for. That's what I've got children for.
Imagine if the Boston Dynamics robot, Boston Dynamics mated with Tesla's robot would have the Terminator scenario right there in front of us. Intelligence and mobility.
That's the purpose of having children.
With sparks fly.
If you have children, you say, hey, get me a coffee, please. And
exactly. That's.
But can they grow up and say, get stuck?
I'm the one with the problem here, right? I have no kids. So I'm the one that needs the Tesla robot to go to the fridge to get me the drink.
Oh God! But
I have no kids.
Don't worry. That can be sorted out.
Are you one of those incels that I've heard so much about recently?
Oh dear me! Yeah, that seems terrible. Yeah.
A what?
No, that's awful.
Sure. You have to Google incel.
Yeah, that's a dirigible low-level dinner flights around. Well, now you see that, Sam. That is a great idea. Wouldn't we like to do that? That would be a lovely thing. Or a lovely flight down through Africa on the big airship to slowly glide over the...
Use hydrogen for environmental purposes. Don't fly in a storm.
That's hydrogen is rearing its ugly head left, right, and centre as a method of getting us round, isn't it? It's one of those things that gets reinvented yet again, and it's a terrible solution. It's a terrible solution.
it's not the better solution at all, is it?
No.
It keeps rearing its head. It will have its place somewhere, but it's not. Yeah, it's kind of like this. It's like
petroleum companies can come out and say, "Oh, we can provide all the hydrogen we need. We just
funny old thing.
and release all the CO2."
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's another. Yeah, we can do that. We'll do that. Yeah, and doesn't it take 100 times more energy to produce than 100 times more electricity to produce than the electricity? Yeah. So you might as well.
But it's the storage and the transportation of hydrogen. It is a very energy dense fuel on the basis of how many joules per kilogram, but it's a very energy sparse when you look at it at room temperature and 1 atmosphere of pressure. Storing it requires cryogenic techniques, which in themselves require energy, or it requires the use of things like metal hydrides, which then require energy put in to release the gas. There's so many inefficiencies. And then if you have any steel or iron nearby, you get hydrogen embrittlement, and your containment vessels just fracture because they become brittle. And also because hydrogen is such a small molecule, it can seep through the gaps in any containment vessel like air seeps out of a balloon. So it's just ridiculously impractical at this stage.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're due a new battery revolution soon, which should be good for all of us. I'm sure sooner or later we'll get another battery revolution, because we got the LiPo, didn't we? And that was great because phones always needed better batteries, better power, lithium ion, LiPos. These have got better and better. They're getting better at creating the chemicals that are in these, making it better. We're getting better life out of them. But I think there's going to be another jump at some point, which would be great for drone users.
We need a completely different chemistry, a different way to do it.
Yeah,
and everyone talks about supercats, but you just cannot store enough electricity in a supercat per volume. And the other chemistries that have been offered, like iron air and aluminium air, they all have their downsides. Either they don't have the energy density, or they don't have the ability to draw. They've got too much internal resistance, so you can't draw much energy out of them. And the most positive one at this stage is the ones where they use a liquid to hold the charge, so you can actually fill them up with the liquid, and it recharges your battery. Basically, you don't have to put electricity in. Those look interesting, but again, it's all so far down the road. I've been reading about the next breakthrough battery technology due in a year, 4 decades, just like fusion reactors are only 10 years away, as they have been ever since they were first thought of.
They've been 10 years. Anyone that says 10 years to you, they're talking,
or 90%.
Yeah.
So now's the time to invest. Spend your money with us, invest in us, and we'll produce the next battery technology in just under 10 years' time.
I know. I've been meaning to email you, actually, Bruce. While I was crossing my mind, I'm making a request for a video series from you, a whiteboard series, and it's about antenna placement and the best antennas and coax and all that sort of thing, and why it matters. Because I'm getting quite miffed now with seeing some very crazy setups for people saying, why isn't this working? Well,
physics, laws of physics, you can't be.
Yeah, I think we're overdue some whiteboard videos from that, please. So you'll do those better than anybody else. So please do those, Bruce.
Okay, I shall. Now I'm in lockdown. Nothing else to do.
Nothing else.
Can't even test my new ADSB software out. There's no airplanes in the sky.
There's no airplanes in the sky. Yeah, back in the first big one here, we just set up a whole new lot of receivers for our big chain of receivers. And then, there was nothing there to even know it's working. And FlightAware and other things were saying, your receiver's not working anymore. It's like, no, there's no airplanes.
So here's a daft question, and it's going to go slightly off topic, but it is to do with aircraft in the sky. So if we remember 9/11, they basically just about all planes stopped flying around the world, if you remember, and the temperature for the planet jumped about a degree to degree and a half, didn't it? We got warmer, basically, because there was no planes flying, so therefore the vapor trails weren't there. Yeah, less clouds.
Chemtrails.
That's the one.
Chemtrails,
the ones that affect your mind and everything. The ones that are spreading everything.
Don't need those now. We've got the vaccine.
We got the tracker. So, well, come on, it's 10 years later.
Yeah. So here's a question: do we think? And I know it's off topic by a mile. With COVID, planes basically did the same sort of thing. All aircraft just about stopped flying. Do we think that affected the environment much at all? Like I said, it's off topic. It's a complete ramble in that direction. You know,
So
because
wow, Mark, you really caught me off guard on that one.
What has been said here, and I can almost sort of vouch for it because we were at the coast 2 weekends ago, and we were about the coast about a month ago, and we saw loads and loads of whales. Is that because, and what I mean by that is we didn't see Ian. That's Welsh. That's different to Wales. Is that the big marine animals are traveling a little bit more freely. There's less noise on the sea and things like that. So that's being, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But that's what's being said, and we saw whales all day long.
Yeah.
So
well, our jets. I mean, the jet stream's being in the wrong place, which means the UK is just having rubbish weather at the minute. It also explains why the rest of Europe's just been getting pounded by the rain.
So Lufthansa's coming back.
What happened to the heat waves?
Yeah, everything is coming back. But what I mean is, for around 2 years, year and a half, everything was like really quiet.
Yeah, I think I'm in a lot of ways I'm quite disappointed at the rush back to the old.
If this was the test, imagine how the final show will be. Come on, they were testing if they could put everyone inside.
And it worked.
And it worked.
And it's even working now for Bruce. So how much longer have you got to go, Bruce?
They've got an announcement, I think either tomorrow or Friday or something. They may move part of the country into level 3 lockdown and leaving the infected areas in level 4. But it's my prediction the whole country will probably be in level 4 for at least another 2 weeks, and some of the worsted areas another week or two after that. So yeah,
what are your vaccination levels like, Bruce, compared to us? Because obviously we're in a mass wave, but we're rolling through. We're just rolling on now.
Pretty crap at the moment. I think about 20% have had 2 shots and less than that have had, 20% have had 1 shot and less than have had 2. We were very late starting. The government was sitting around for a year patting itself on the back how well we're handling this thing while the rest of the world was vaxing up. And then, of course, we get it in. Oh, we should have vaccinated people. Never mind, we'll do that now. Yeah, right. That's not working too well. Have you seen what's happening in Israel, though? It's very interesting over there. I think a massive 4th wave arriving, even though they've got high levels of vaccination. Now they're rushing out booster shots to everybody because it seems that they did the 3-week spacing with the initial vaccine with the Pfizer. And that's what they did here in New Zealand. I got a 3-week gap, and apparently that's pretty bloody useless. So I'm not.
Yeah, they reckon it needs to be longer, because when I had mine at 8, they were saying I'm just at 8. We recommend you go away till at least 10, because the studies show a better result of the longer. But I was like, no, I need it done now, because I'm not going to be able to make it happen in the next couple of weeks. So it's weird, isn't it? Because everyone was getting bent out of shape in the early days of being made to wait longer, and now it actually turns out it seems good.
Yeah, and I did my research and rolled up to the thing, and they said, come back in 3 weeks. I said, well, hang on, in the UK, they're saying 8-9 weeks. Why? And they said, oh, no, our research indicates that 3 weeks is perfect. And now in New Zealand, they've changed to 6 weeks. So, yeah, they know what they're doing. The experts here know what they're doing.
How long was it for my AstraZeneca? But it was much more than 3 weeks.
I'm just going to look what mine was now.
Johnson & Johnson, 1 go. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You know, Wales, if I look at the numbers in Wales, I haven't looked at England, but we are up to about 2/3 of the peak level right now, when it was at its absolute worst. However, we have no restrictions. You know, so what's really interesting about this is we've been running with no restrictions for nearly a month. And whilst the numbers are high, they still haven't reached the level of where they were at the worst point when we were in lockdown. Because that was the point we were in lockdown. And even when they lifted lockdown last time, we didn't get this much of a lift. You know, people are behaving like COVID doesn't exist. That is how people are behaving right now.
Yeah. Some very interesting information came out that I saw recently. There's a doctor on YouTube anyway. He was saying that the mRNA vaccines work by causing the body to create the protein, which is one of the proteins that's on the outside of the COVID virus. So then when you get attacked by the virus, it responds with antibodies, but it's only one of the proteins on the spikes of the virus. And this research seems to indicate that if you have been double shot immunized and you then are exposed to COVID, you then develop an immunity or an immune response to all the proteins on the outside of the virus. So if the current Delta strain mutates and that one protein that we are using to trigger our immune response no longer appears, we're as vulnerable as the day we weren't vaccinated. But if you get exposed to the COVID after you've been vaccinated, you get a full spread of immunity against all the proteins. So the best thing you can do if you've had 2 shots is go and lick the back of the head of somebody who's got COVID.
And then it's going to give you, it's, the reality is most people I know here, we've stopped watching the news. We've stopped keeping an eye on what's going on. I was daily looking at the figures. I just get on with my life now. I don't see any point in moving back into any form of lockdown again in the UK. The numbers, even if deaths doubled from where they are today, what can you do? You can't lock down forever now. We've done everything we can do, and all you can do is try to move forward. I think the UK has accepted that as well.
But I think the only thing that you have to say about that is you've got to have a high vaccination number in your society.
I mean, at the minute for us in the UK, the biggest group that are hitting the hospitals is all the 30s and unders that have not gone for the double jab, not gone for the jabs. They're the ones. It's no longer full of older people as much now in hospitals. It's all the younger generation that are getting hit, and they're the ones going, "Oh, we don't need it. We don't need it." You go out clubbing, they're getting it. They're the ones that are feeling it now. And I believe we got
70% vaccination, and now we started to vaccinate the kids from 12 up.
Yeah, we're so.
Oh, that's we dropped down to 18-year-olds last week, and there's pretty high vaccine hesitancy in my age group, 21, but in the older folks, and but the youngsters, they dropped it so it's the bracket 35 to 18. They are filling the queues. They are filling the queues here, and they are overrunning the system. They're so keen to get vaccinated. So that's a positive thing.
They say for the herd immunity over here, they were aiming for the 70%, but now they claim with all the variants and all that, they say they want to go to 85% of vaccination.
Yeah, the thing with this idea of getting COVID after you've been inoculated, it actually also follows how the Spanish flu died out. The Spanish flu started off and killed all these people, but then there were variants of the Spanish flu which were less injurious to your health, less likely to kill you. But if you got them, you got a bit sick, but it gave you immunity to the harsh strains that were going to kill you. And that's why it died out, because eventually those strains proliferated throughout the population and immunized them. It's immunized people against the more dangerous versions of the virus, and therefore it just basically died out into the general influenza pool, and people disappeared because the weaker ones.
When you look at the UK numbers, it's interesting because if you look today, it's about 800 people across the UK being tested positive a day. We were at 4,000 odd peak.
Wow, that's low. 800 a day now.
800 a day, but now that is high numbers from where we were at. But it seems to have plateaued, and I do think a lot of people have it. And a report I'm getting is they either don't know they got it, or the symptoms are so mild or different. It does seem the idea of herd immunity with vaccination seems to be working. That it seems to be this combination.
You just got to get to that.
You've got to get
those.
Now you only know that you have the COVID if you have to fly on to take a flight.
Yes.
So that's. Come on, it's so stupid, ridiculous, and everything. But yeah, that's what we have.
But the worrying thing is if the virus mutates so that one protein that the vaccines are effective against disappears, we're all vulnerable again.
Yeah. Look, we had a fright on Sunday. Our 4-year-old just ran a huge fever, so we carted them off for a test on Monday morning. The two of them. The 6-year-old had it first, and which meant then he was complaining in the car because it was done in the car, and then the 4-year-old was, "You're You're having a laugh, aren't you? You were going to do what? It shows off. So that I didn't go. We didn't plan that very well as an experience.
I can tell you where you can shove that swab is what is
exactly. The big eyes. What?
Like welcome back, Cotter. Up your nose with a rubber hose.
Yeah, so it's but it's just like, it's time for it to be over now, isn't it?
It's interesting because we seem somehow to have handled this fairly well in the UK and
NHS.
You okay? Would you say yeah?
NHS. But luckily, you're going to sell that to the Americans. Hey!
Yeah, but we did order. There's no question. We just went whatever it is, we'll buy it. From a vaccine point of view, and the interesting thing with Europe is Europe were caught with their pants down massively because they had to negotiate as a bloc because no single country could be seen to jump ahead of the rest, and they openly said that their own red tape got in the way of themselves. But in the grand scheme of things, we've done all right.
But they've caught up now. They've caught up with them and overtaken.
And they're getting better. But the problem they've had is, so not only was it their red tape, we invested in places like AstraZeneca. We spent our money. Let's face it, we spent our money. But not only that, but we didn't have a prime minister or a president going, "Oh, don't take that. It's bad for you. Don't take that AstraZeneca." Macron has so much to answer for saying that to his people. He was, the ruler of France, which is the fifth biggest economy in the world. And he's going, "Oh, don't take that jab, even though it'll save his citizens' lives." And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, they're going, "Oh, you get the jab now. Get the jab now."
Don't worry. Now French instituted the third shot, so. Everybody that has the Pfizer one is going for the third shot. I'm okay. I got the AstraZeneca.
So it's a shame they gave up on bleach then.
Yeah. So we can say we're 100% vaccinated then as a group here.
Yeah. Yes.
All around the world. That's interesting, isn't it? We're all around the world,
and that's why we're not wearing masks today.
Not one of us is. Not one of us is in the same country. It is, and
that's the best way to prevent infection, isn't it? It's to be thousands of miles apart.
Distancing.
Social media distancing. Yeah, absolutely. But it affected the AUVSI show. A lot of people, the experiment isn't over yet. Exactly. That's right. Now all of the trackers.
Well, what's interesting is as well. So when COVID happened, there was a big push to look for ways to solve the issue, not just about finding the cure, a vaccination or something to go. There was all these, we can do stuff by drone. If you remember, there was a big push.
That's all gone, isn't it?
So these companies spent a fortune trying to get their foot in the door, do this, do the other. We could do BV loss this and BV loss that. The problem was, even though regulators were still too slow to catch up with it all because, they were caught with their trousers down, sadly. It's all of a sudden it's like, well, no, it's not needed anymore. There was a big push for stuff. It's like, we'll be able to transport a little box of tests from point A to point B really quickly. All that just quickly disappeared because why will you transport just a small little box somewhere anyway?
No,
I'm just waiting for the firmware upgrade, and then we'll all be better when the firmware upgrade is released.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, there was all about spraying drones. Do you remember? There's a big push on drones are going to be able to spray down cities and down city streets, and they're going to disinfect everything and all this and the other.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? Because if there was ever a time for such things to become useful, then this was probably the time.
Drones could become a vector for the virus.
A vector. Roger.
Don't worry. We all see the effects of the vaccination once the 5G goes live all around.
I was flying near someone that was doing some installation of hardware to sell systems, and they were like, we just want to get this done and get out of here before people realise what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm just hearing the dogs banging against the danger hedgehogs that kick around here, and this is a slight aside because it's reminded me that amazingly, a Chinese company reached out for me to review something, which is wonderful because it's a flipping one of those animal cameras, one of those camera traps. So how they work that out, I don't know. They must be watching this and seeing.
Speaking of Chinese companies, did you see that drug drone, the VTOL fixed wing drug drone that they seized?
Which one? The one in
the white one.
Which particular one? There's been so many. Oh. Yeah.
Well, there was one in the news this week. They said it was Chinese origin, and it was like heaps expensive, but I guess it was worth more than its weight in drugs. Who knows?
Probably. Oh, yeah. But yeah, so we've got
tracked on radar. They tracked it on radar and caught it.
That must have been big then. If they tracked it on radar, it must have been the 4 meter to 5 meter span because the radar wouldn't see it otherwise. It'd have to be big. You know, so at some point...
It might have been the remote ID that gave it away, you think?
Probably, yeah. They'll do it. They'll do it.
Because obviously, if you fly something big around 5 meters, that will show up on some... That'll show up on a typical airport radar because it's big enough to give a bounce. If you wanted to avoid it, you just reduce the size of the aircraft. So when you get down to about 2 meters, 3 meters, it's not really that visible. It's kind of like
flying
this.
Low.
Or if you
just fly really low, does it as well.
If you paint it with the paint which contains ground ferrite, it absorbs a hell of a lot of RF and is unlikely to provide a reflection anyway. Don't see that.
The reason phantoms were white, it was to better reflect the radar waves. Don't forget about that.
But also you got to remember, many controllers will have moving target indicator wound up on their screens. There's lots of general aviation and glides around to get rid of the slower moving target. So if you slow down as well, you'll also fall off a process radar. Just by adjusting your speed.
Because that's submission to the New Zealand drone rules is that these hunter killer drones can hover with their powerful cameras.
Yes.
That was a very good submission. Did we all enjoy that?
Come on, Bruce. I haven't thanked you for your read of those submissions to about the drones. Oh God, I was laughing so hard, But is that for real?
Yeah, that is for real. And it's not the only one. There's other ones that are just about as bad. There's a lot of video material in that. Submissions.
Come on, Bruce. You made me laugh as hard as I can remember because you were reading that with an intonation. You look like Sir Laurence Olivier reading Shakespeare. Oh, and I couldn't laugh. So I was laughing hard as hell. Oh God, it's fantastic. Thanks, Bruce, for the wonderful moments and wonderful video.
It was all typed by someone with a straight face. Obviously believed what they were saying.
Yeah. I was thinking that it might be something concocted by you that you came up. Let me put the most ridiculous things that I can remember of, and you went and had your way. But no, if those are real. Oh God, you really have another problem. You really need something more than a COVID shot. You need something else.
The most worrying thing is the Ministry of Transport will seize on that and go, these are all jolly good reasons.
you want to do you've got to do like a top 20. You need to find the most ludicrous top 20.
Top 20 is on the first letter. Sorry, it has to be it.
Yeah. There's nuts stuff out there. We are definitely ranting around corners. What other news have we seen, if any, gentlemen? Going once.
No one died twice. When Canada police hit a plane.
Canada police. Just give me a year, they'll do it again. It'll be a balloon or a hang glider next.
Can you get them on the show, Gary? Perhaps we could get the Canadian police on the show and we could invite them to explain the training techniques.
That's who I'd like to get on, is their training organisation. That's who I'd like to get on. Yeah, I'd like to know how to in combat, how to hit things easier.
Do they have an official information act over there?
Sorry, Bruce. I really think that you guys in UK should export Gatwick to Canada That way, there won't be any flights. So it would be perfect. Everything focused in one place. No need for UK, Canada, everything in Canada. As we've seen, the airspace is so congested that it will be.
They must have a FOIA mechanism. You can request official information from a government agency in Canada. Find out who did the training.
Yeah, we'll have a look. Yeah, we'll have a look at. I'll have a look at that this week.
Here's a little tidbit. Gatwick has asked for some money from the government because they're struggling.
Oh, I wonder why. They need some drones.
Counter-UAS technology is not cheap.
They ignored it. You know, they in one of Ian's posts that eventually came through, they ignored it. The counter-UAS guys on night 3 or whatever said there's no threat, and they said, well, we'll keep it closed anyway. So so we're trying to nail down exactly who it was. And it's quite important as to exactly who it was that said that. And the Department of Transport said, one knows. It was the CAA in Gatwick. They decided. So they ignored the counter-UAS stuff that arrived on, I think it was night 3.
This is the thing that just quietly worries me about the fact that we've gone so long, not a single death. I wonder if it's only going to be a matter of time before there's the occasional false flag operation to basically say, well, look, the people have died. I mean, from what I see in the movies, American government would do that.
Right, we need one in order to.
We need someone to die. Come on, knock that plane out of the sky, and we'll blame some poor guy with a helicopter.
Some nice Canadian will give it a go. Some nice Canadian, nice polite Canadian will be sent off. Who said
they're not
sorry?
Very good at it. That's the only problem.
No, they've done it twice. So the current world leaders
haven't managed to bring one down yet.
I just find it amazing that their training is that good on how to hit another aircraft. It's just amazing. Like Bruce said earlier, it's really hard to hit another aircraft in the sky.
Well, the thing is, it's like potholes. Never look at the thing you're trying to avoid, or you will hit it. You've got to look away.
Yeah. So no, there's lots of things happening in the Gatwick story, and it is the moving of chairs of people going, oh no, one knows, no, oh no, no, not our office, oh no, never. And Ian has unlocked a rich vein of getting offices to make excuses as to why it wasn't them. So at least
that person has since left the organization, and due to privacy restrictions, we cannot tell where they are or who it was.
Exactly. That's so. Yeah, well, even those sort of admissions are suddenly, oh, that's interesting. You know.
It is absolutely crazy. But yeah, Gatwick, like I say, asks for government money because they're struggling.
That is interesting. Alert the elders. How very dare you?
But don't the French own it now? Didn't they sell it?
Yeah, so it was sold to another company, but that company has asked the UK government for money for help.
I suppose that's because of the COVID situation.
Yeah, but I don't think people get how the UK government is. If something's going to go bust, our government doesn't tend to step in to save them. Like if a steel company is going to go bust, they'll go, yeah, but we don't nationalise anything anymore, so we'll not touch that. It's like the Eurotunnel at the minute's got monetary problems or had them, and they're like, the French or whatever saying, look, that the British government can buy back their percentage or whatever. And the British government just goes, nah, that's not happening.
So no chance of another DeLorean.
Yeah, we don't do that. We just sell off everything. We just
sell. It's just one great big discount sale. That NHS. Anyway,
don't forget the VAT.
Don't forget the VAT. Yeah, you're gonna be having healthcare like us in a minute, 800, 900 quid a month for your family. You watch.
Do you know what? The government that does that is the government that just lost its place. That's the only thing. Whichever government would be daft enough to sell off our NHS.
Brexit, anyway.
Yeah, we would literally turn on them in an instant. I think here.
I don't think so, but I think on that note, because we're definitely not talking drones anymore, I'm going to say cheerio, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, wherever you might be. Be safe wherever you are. Do whatever you have to do. Please get a jab, so then we can all go on holiday again. And we'll see you again at 2100 GMT next week. Take care, everybody. Thanks, gentlemen, very much. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye.